Welcome back to Sobriety Podcasts. Today we're shifting the focus, not on the drinker, but on the people who love them. What happens when the chaos of alcoholism lives in the walls of your home?
This episode is about silent suffering. The family's caught in the storm of someone else's drinking, but it's also about hope, healing, and the power of finally putting yourself first. Imagine feeling so utterly lost, just completely consumed by a loved one's drinking problem that, well, escape just feels impossible.
Mm-hmm.
We heard from one Allen member, RG from California, who called it living in a dense fog of pain. Just couldn't see my way out. That's powerful imagery, it really is. And then there's Valley F, who later became Al Anon's executive director. She reached a point of such desperation. She saw suicide as the only way out from these self destructive behaviors tied directly back to her family's alcoholism. And it highlights this strange paradox, isn't it?
Yeah. The solution, the real healing often comes from somewhere totally unexpected, not from the drink or stopping necessarily, but from something shifting inside the family member.
Exactly.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this. It's a topic touching millions, but it often stays in the shadows.
The huge impact of alcoholism, not just on the drinker, but the whole family, right?
And we really want to focus on the lasting scars, especially for kids, even after sobriety comes into the picture.
Yeah, those long term effects are crucial. Our mission today is really to explore how Allen and family groups have been this incredible lifeline, actually saving families by offering this unique path to healing.
It's fascinating, really, how the disease itself, alcoholism, creates this ripple effect. It hits people in ways they often don't even clock until they finally reach out for help. And we'll explore how Al Anon gives them that space, that specific place for their healing, recognizing that the family's recovery journey is, well, it's separate, it's vital.
Yeah, and it's theirs no matter what the alcoholic does or doesn't do. And just so you know where we're getting this from, this deep dive is built on a whole collection of experiences, powerful testimonials, and core information straight from Al Anon family groups, real voices, real stories.
Absolutely. Direct quotes from their literature, member sharings. It's authentic stuff painting a really vivid picture of this whole journey.
Okay?
So when you look at these stories, you see this pattern emerge, right? This crisis point when life just becomes genuinely unmanageable. We heard RRG's dense fog of pain, Valley F's despair. It's more than just having a bad patch, it's this constant state, totally overwhelming.
Yeah. Like Melissa N., she talks about creeping out to the garage at 3 a.m., freezing in her slippers.
Just to check cupboards, the car trunk for empty bottles, searching for proof of something that was already undeniably messing up every part of her life.
Even when it's obvious, right? She even said she felt her rationality was slipping away. It's such a stark image of desperation, isn't it?
And that searching for proof, even when the reality is staring you in the face, it just shows how insidious that unmanageability gets.
And it's often fueled by the alcoholic's denial, saying things like, oh, that bottle's been there forever, even if it's still cold.
Right? The gaslighting. Exactly. That constant gaslighting can make family members doubt their own sanity, which is why it's such a relief when they find others in Al Anon who get it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're suddenly not alone, right? They share that fear of planning trips, the constant fighting, how stress like the pandemic just ramps everything up. Liz from Ontario mentioned feeling so much shame she just cut herself off from friends, family.
Oh, it really speaks to the intense emotional, the psychological toll. It's kind of mind blowing when you realize how deep this belief goes that somehow they can control it or even cause the drinking in the first place.
Yeah, that's a big one. Melissa Ann actually called her spouse's therapist, not for her own help, but she demanded that she do something about his drinking, trying to fix it externally.
Exactly. And another member talked about blaming the alcoholic for all the chaos at home. It's like this unconscious weight families carry, isn't it?
It really is this idea that if they just tried harder or if the drinker really loved them, they'd stop.
It is. And that thinking just traps people. Yeah, it's a relentless cycle of trying to manage, trying to control.
Darlene L. in her sharing puts it so well. She explains how We often think we understand our loved ones through and through, and we just assume they lack willpower, right? If only they had more willpower.
Exactly. So that leads to trying to reason with them or give suggestions, which, you know, tragically just doesn't work. It fails. It makes things worse. It just feeds the chaos, pushes people further into isolation.
The real issue, as the sources show, is a basic misunderstanding of the disease itself. So, what was the turning point? Where did the hope come from in all this despair?
Well, it started interestingly with two women, Lois W. and Ann B., the wives of the AA co founders.
That's right. While they were waiting for their husbands at AA meetings, they had this huge realization they needed a program too for themselves.
So they started talking, figuring out how to apply those AA principles, the 12 steps, to their own lives.
And that was the beginning of, but became Al-Anon.
They adapted the steps and later the traditions.
That's fascinating. The recognition right at the start that the family members had their own kind of illness separate from the alcoholics, absolutely profound.
I never felt alcoholism did something to me. It did something for me.
What does she mean by that?
It sounds almost counterintuitive, right? But it wasn't flippant. It was about a fundamental shift in perspective.
For so long, you define yourself by the chaos, by trying to control the uncontrollable.
This shift is about reclaiming your own life, your own agency, realizing the only person you can change is yourself, okay? And all that energy spent trying to manage the unmanageable, you can redirect it inward towards your own liberation.
That's the unique space Al Anon provides. The focus is totally on you, the affected person, helping them unhook, as they say.
Exactly. Unhook from the disease and finally grasp that crucial truth. The disease of alcoholism is not their fault. They learned they don't have to suffer because of someone else's actions or reactions. So, back to RRG, stuck in that dense fog of pain.
The first thing she heard, the initial guidance was just incredibly simple, but revolutionary. It's not your fault, you didn't cause it. Simple words, huge impact.
Yeah, it sounds straightforward, but it's a cornerstone of Al Anon. It directly pushes back against all that internal blame, that self incrimination people carry. And it is so hard for people to accept they didn't cause, does it, isn't it?
Well, for years, maybe decades, they've been told directly or indirectly, yeah, that it is their fault, or they've internalized that message.
Hmm.
The Al-Anon literature spells it out clearly. Nothing we say or do can cause or stop someone else's drinking.
We are not responsible for another person's disease or recovery from it.
That's a heavy burden to let go of.
It is. But it's not about giving up or not caring. It's about active detachment, healthy detachment. Okay. And that detachment lets people finally stop obsessing and start building happier and more manageable lives, as with dignity and rights, often with help from a power greater than themselves. And it's important to stress Al Anon isn't therapy, right? It's mutual support.
Exactly. Mutual support for anyone affected by someone else's drinking. Doesn't matter if the drinker admits they have a problem or ever seeks help, right? It's a fellowship, people learning from each other's experiences. It's not religious, not counseling.
The only focus is the family member's recovery. Now, while Allen helps spouses, partners, parents, its message seems especially powerful for people who grew up in alcoholic homes.
Oh, absolutely. One member said, "As a child, I had felt frightened, confused, and embarrassed by the things that went on in my home. These aren't just bad memories, they're deep, lasting scars."
That's precisely it. And if you look at the bigger picture, alcoholism really is a family disease. They say it affects at least four other people, often across generations.
Generations, wow.
Yeah. Timothy B. shared how he learned his grandparents drinking people he didn't even know, as drinkers deeply affected his parents, and those effects they were passed along to me.
So the patterns repeat.
They do, and this is so crucial. The scars stick around, even if the alcohol may be gone, and the alcohol had gone or recovering in.
Right, sobriety doesn't automatically erase the past impact, not at all, especially the emotional and psychological stuff from childhood.
That can have really profound, long lasting consequences that Al Anon specifically helps people unpack and heal from.
So this brings up a really critical point. What do these lasting effects actually look like for adult children of alcoholics?
Well, the sources point to a whole range of ongoing struggles, like what? Things like difficulties with relationships, big problems, handling intense feelings, fear, anger, guilt, shame, major self esteem issues.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Josh P. described feeling different and alone, and that the insanity of my home life only helped perpetuate those feelings.
He even called it a disease of uniqueness.
A disease of uniqueness? What does that mean?
Perfectly captures that deep isolation, feeling like your family's chaos was so uniquely awful, so shameful that nobody else could possibly understand, right?
You feel like you're the only one.
Exactly. It makes it incredibly hard to form real connections later on. Ung said she was a lost little girl for so long, just didn't know how to be an adult.
Even after her mother and brother, both alcoholics, had passed away, she found herself making everyone else around me into an alcoholic
Oh,
because I would just be constantly up in everyone's business, just trying to control and manage. It just shows how deeply those thought patterns get ingrained, right? And persist even without active alcoholism around.
that's incredible and terrifying. It is. And Tatiana T., her description is so vivid that acute awareness a child develops. You can hear the bottles. You have ears in the back of your head and everywhere in every room.
Hypervigilance, total hypervigilance,
Yeah, and she talked about the internal impact, developing this personality that doesn't know what it feels or wants.
just desperately trying to put on some costume, using romantic fantasy to escape the war zone at home.
Wow. And Judy Fee carried a big resentment for 20 years, learned not to even trust people super young. These stories just hammer home the profound, lasting emotional damage.
So, okay, with all these lingering wounds, where does the healing actually start? How does Al Anon help with that?
Well, the big revelation for many adult children, like the member from Document S69, is finding that safe space. Al Anon was a safe haven for me. For the first time in my life, I belonged and was accepted for who I was. Finally, finding a place to belong.
Yes, and realizing that their deepest, maybe most shameful feelings, the mistrust, anger, aggression, resentment, uncertainty, and protectedness.
Hearing those echoed by others, it's validating, hugely validating. That shared understanding is this powerful antidote to the isolation. It creates that sense of belonging, of acceptance that maybe they never ever got growing up.
And that shift from isolation to belonging.
It must be transformative.
It really is. And it's fascinating how the program fundamentally shifts the focus,
Yeah, away from the alcoholic onto the self, right?
taking the spotlight off the drinker. Exactly. As one source puts it, Al Anon taught me to take the emphasis off the alcohol, Olix, and put it on me. I began to change old behavior patterns and learn new ways to resolve my problems.
So it's really about personal growth.
Totally. This is where Al-Anon saved sanity for Timothy F. He realized these people get it. They understand alcoholism in a way he never did.
Mhm. And Val, whose story we started with, she found real hope, learned better parenting skills, which ultimately allowed her to have this vibrant career. It's about your recovery, regardless of what the alcoholic is doing.
And it's not just talk, right? Al-Anon gives people actual tools.
Absolutely. Tangible tools. Crystal V, for example, realized she was this overly protective, controlling mother because of her husband's drinking. Understandable reaction, though, sure. But through Al Anon, she gained patience. She learned the slogans like, let go and let God. How important is it? Live and let live.
Live and let live. Little reminders, powerful reminders. And she now feels the best gifts I can give my children are the tools and knowledge I have learned in the Al-Anon program.
Passing on the healing. How does that transformation happen, though? What's the mechanism?
Well, primarily through the 12 steps adapted from AA. They aren't just rules, they're like a structured pathway, a roadmap.
Yeah. A roadmap for self reflection, making amends where needed, finding some kind of spiritual grounding. It guides you through this really profound personal emotional change.
Darlene L. mentioned that unless a person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery.
A psi IC change? That sounds intense.
It is. It means a complete internal shift, moving away from that mindset of control, of reaction towards peace, toward your own agency.
To Al Anon members, that means tackling their own deep desire to control, manage, and control others.
The program gives them that safe, non judgmental environment with structure, which offers safety, consistency, especially when life feels chaotic and it takes time, presumably.
Oh, yeah, it's about progress and not perfection.
People acknowledge they carry a lifetime of baggage into our meetings, and it takes time to recover from the effects of the past. Willingness is the key thing.
And throughout all this, what seems to stand out consistently in these stories is the power of the community itself.
Definitely. Josh P. talked about the comfort from the hugs and the love I received from the other members.
Another person said, "We'd been through the same war, fought the same battles, and shared the same scars. We are all walking miracles. We love and support each other."
That sense of shared experience, it's incredibly powerful knowing you're not alone in that war.
Exactly. Al-Anon meetings are where people reveal themselves with great honesty and courage, and they realize, okay, our situations might be different, but the feelings around them shockingly alike.
And importantly, this happens without experts or therapists leading. The group is peer to peer.
Which builds a different kind of trust, a unique trust. Absolutely. It lets members truly feel heard and supported.
And learn from others who are walking or have walked the same path. It's empathy in action.
And it's clearly not a quick fix, is it? People don't just graduate from Al Anon.
Not typically. Number, yeah. Members like Val talk about a lifelong commitment to using the principles of the program to maintain that vibrant life.
Right. Many say they'll keep coming back forever. They learn something new at every meeting, find new insights about themselves, their relationships.
It's ongoing work. That's why it's often called a daily practice. Like Angie said, I don't have any alcoholics in my life today.
Yeah, right. But how I know I belong here in Al Anon, it's because I can make anyone around me into an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm. My mind could just spin out of control.
Wow, that self-awareness is key. It really is, that continuous self-awareness, applying the principles day by day. That's what leads to lasting peace, serenity, helping members truly own their recovery, realizing it's deliciously their own, built on self-care, not trying to control others.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. If the disease of alcoholism is not their fault, and if Al Anon's core teaching holds true, we didn't cause it, can't cure it, and can't control it. Just imagine the immense freedom you might find when you finally let go of that impossible job, managing someone else's illness.
What new possibilities open up when you pour all that energy back into your own healing, into understanding how maybe those childhood scars, those echoes from the past might still be playing out in your life today? And if any of this resonates with you, if these stories sound familiar, remember Al Anon is out there. It's a vital support system and it's accessible.
Well, how can people find out more?
You could start with their 20-question self-assessment. Did you grow up with a problem drinker? It's a free download on their website. Or just visit alanon.org. That's al.org.
Okay. You can also call them 1-888-425-266.
The key thing is no appointments are needed. The doors are always open for anyone seeking understanding, seeking a path to their own genuine recovery.
Thanks for listening. If any of this felt familiar, Al-Anon is waiting with open arms. No judgment, no prerequisites, just people who understand.
Letting go of someone else's illness might feel impossible, but in that surrender, you might find your own peace. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself.